Hello and welcome to the Legendary Backlog. We're glad you're here. In our show, we cover what we've been playing over the last week and a game over 5 years old in a 5-year beyond segment. This is episode 7 and we'll be covering Panzer Dragoon. I am Brian and you can find me at TryWinBrian on X. If you listen to the show and you like it, please follow us on Patreon at the Legendary Backlog. It's free and it will give you access to all our sites. We're trying to build a community of people who love games. My co-host is also Brian. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I am Brian, and you can reach me at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, Nostalgic Pixel, and lastly, the website, nostalgicpixel.com.
All right, Brian, let's go ahead and get into what we've been playing. I went first last week. Do you want to go first this week?
Sure, I'll be happy to. All right, Brian. So after we talked more about Super Castlevania 4, I went back and tried playing it some more. I didn't really get any further, so I just had to take a break again for it for a little while and started moving on to new games similar to what we're kind of talking about today. I booted up my Xbox. I played some of the old games I had on that. I played this puzzle game, Hexic HD. I remember, I think I got it right around the time or with my original Xbox 360 when I got the Elite model. It's a puzzle game. And it's a Jewel puzzle game. So it's if you know Bejeweled, it's kind of like that. Basically, all these jewels have fallen up and filled up the screen, and you can rotate 3 of them. Like it'll rotate in a circle. They're hexagonal shaped, and so with that, they move around, and you have to match 3 colors for them to disappear. So if 3 colors are touching or whatever that you're making it happen, they'll go away. But anyway, so with that game, I had fun with it. I played it before. It's similar to like Bejeweled, like I said. And so I ended up finding myself playing some of that for a while. For me, my strategy is I like to hit up the bottom of the screen so that I can build up chain reactions across the top. So the whole time I'm always just scouring the bottom looking for moves, because I'm not worried about making the moves at the top of the screen as so much. I'm looking for a chain reaction of things, and it's fun. So that's one of the earliest ones. And then another game I was playing, again, it was a Saturn game, but brought over on the Xbox, and it's Nights into Dreams. And it's nice. It's a widescreen version, and playing on an Xbox Series X. It looks really good. It's been scaled up. I think it was upgraded at some point in its backwards compatibility. The resolution seemed really sharp. It didn't seem like it was just 1080p, but the frame rate was real smooth, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't get too deep into it because I was just playing around with games with it. So Nights is a game from the Sonic team, and it was originally on Saturn, and the Sonic team is the team that made the Sonic Hedgehog games, and this was like their game on the Saturn, and it wasn't a Sonic game, and they didn't really make a traditional Sonic game on the system. So this was like the Saturn's mascot character that even came with like an analog stick controller. So the first like Sega Saturn had like a controller specifically for the game that used like an analog stick, which is quaint now because all systems have like all controllers with 2 analog sticks, and this was the first controller that had one. But anyway, I was playing on the Xbox, so obviously I had the analog sticks. But it's an imaginary kind of game where you play in the dream world, and you can either play as this girl or a boy. I can't remember their names. And then you're in like this, it's completely 3D environment. It's like isometric when you're walking your character around. But once you get into like this tower, it switches to where you can play Knights, which is like this make-believe character who can fly around. And you have to collect these blue orbs and enough of them to take out this little, like, looks like a sea creature spaceship type of thing. Anyway, it blows up, and then you go on to these, you do like 3 or 4 levels, and then you fight this boss. And the first boss, I could talk about this because I didn't go very much further. I just wanted to dip into it. And so you kind of like grab them, and like this thing flies around, and you fly around. And so it's very fluid, and it's very pretty, very colorful. Lots of greens, lots of yellows, and bright colors on the screen. Which is a lot of fun. And it, like I said, it was trying to sell analog sticks, or in fact, analog stick, and it was good. It was a lot of smooth motion. It was very different than a Sonic game, but that's fine. It still had some forms of speed.
How do you think Knights holds up all this time?
I think it holds up really well. And so since the original Knights came out, they made a sequel, Knights 2, and that was actually on the Wii. They've had remakes that came out on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360.
And those haven't been re-released?
The Wii one has not been re-released on anything. Yeah. No, it's Sega Saturn, PlayStation 2. In Japan, it came out on the PlayStation 2, and it was on Windows, and then it's PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So, yeah, no, it hasn't come out on like the PlayStation 4 or the Switch. So, this is for me to play it on the latest Xbox Series X is probably the best way on a console versus just, I think, like I said, it runs on Windows. I'm not sure what version, though. It could be like, one from 95, or not 95, but you know what I mean. I played Killer Instinct on the Xbox, not the original Killer Instinct, but it's just this one is simply called Killer Instinct, and it's like a free-to-play fighting game. I played it for a little while, but I'm not interested in like working things out. They give you one character that you can play, and it's this Frost guy that I don't recognize. And I mean, I'm playing Killer Instinct, so since it's all rare and it's owned by Microsoft, they have access to like the Battletoads, so they put Battletoads in it, which was kind of interesting. So even though you could only pick that one character to play as, and you have to pay to unlock other characters, and I don't know if it doesn't look like it's just in-game currency. It looks like it's just real money to unlock characters. But anyway, so you play that guy. But the good news is you can pick any of the other characters as your opponent, so you can at least see any of them. But the thing is, the way it was working is like, it wasn't going to run me through the roster, and I can't just like play a game where I work my way up and actually have a way of beating the game. It just puts me in a versus room with that character, and I can beat him up over and over again, it's like a versus screen. There's no like story or anything. Well, it's a free to play, but with everything that comes free is you can play as this one character and fight any of the characters as many times as you want, and that's about it. And you grind up and earn like in-game currency for things. So you might be able to unlock stuff if you find yourself playing it over and over again. But like literally, it's like, how in fighting games, even in the arcade, like the first guy you beat is generally the easiest. And then the AI gets more complicated further on, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So for this, it was just like you're on the first level setting on everybody. So they're very easy to beat and there's no difficulty.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, well, it's not cool. It's just boring. I mean, it's like it's what you get for free to play fighting games.
What I was thinking about is it's cool in the aspect that if you're trying to earn points to unlock characters, you just want to mow through everybody.
Yeah, but at the same time, it didn't look like I was going to actually be able to spend points on unlocking characters, except maybe like outfits.
Yeah, I really don't know much about that Killer Instinct. I thought it was a game that you bought at one point and got like a certain amount of characters.
Well, it might have been that way when it first came out, but it's at some point it went to free to play, and it's like this. So you might be. I mean, they might sell $20 packs that would unlock like more of the stuff that it came with. But like again, I was just playing the free version of it just to see what it was like. Anyway, it felt very grindy, so I don't think that's a game I want to sit around and put some money in, and especially a lot of time and leveling it. It's interesting because it feels like kind of like a demo because it's a fighting game and versus fighting game, and you can only pick one character to play as, and it's never like the most popular character or anybody recognizable. Anyway, it felt like a demo, but it was showing you how the rest of the game works, and it works similar to like a phone game where you get all this like rewards and points and things that were going into nothing and just kind of like adding up. It's one of those games as a service and for versus fighting game. And I didn't want to get very far with it after that. And then I was playing Panzer Dragoon Orta, which I found out if I spend 5 hours in that game, or I think I beat it, I can unlock the original Panzer Dragoon, which we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Panzer Dragoon Orta. So without getting into details, it's a sequel. It's the fourth Panzer Dragoon, and it's the last one that came out, and it was released on the original Xbox in like the early 2000s. It wasn't a launch game. It came a little bit later. It's very pretty, and again, it's an original Xbox game, and I was playing it on my Xbox Series X because of the backwards compatibility, which was great to see, and it runs. It looks like it was even enhanced for the last generation's Pro version console, the Xbox One X. It runs really nice. I spent about an hour in it. It was a lot of fun. Just to see where the series had progressed in its like final version, but we're not quite final version, but its latest iteration in the early 2000s.
That's really neat that Xbox supports that. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, no, that's a huge feature for me in wanting to play it. Like I had a bunch of games and about 50 of them turned out to be backwards compatible. So that was pretty good. It was like a third, but I was really happy with the third that came through. I just wish the other third or the other 2/3 maybe, but yeah. Well, how about you? Right. What have you been playing this week?
So you had a lot of fun, Brian. What I've been playing this week is I went back to Valkyrie Chronicles. I really am enjoying that. I didn't play as much as I have been playing of it because I kind of slowed down because I want to spend my time on the plane and on the trip. That's in 2 weeks playing it. I did learn a little bit about it. The game has gotten a lot harder, so it's gotten a lot harder. I remember last week I talked about how there's like these buffs that can make things cheap. Well, like the computer kind of learns, or like the levels kind of learn with you. So it's like you got these awesome buffs, so they let you run through a couple battles. And then after that, they position everything to where, you can't take advantage of those buffs like that anymore. It kind of makes sense, right? So it's really well designed. The levels are great. The story's actually picking up and it's getting kind of interesting. At first, I was just like, this is your typical anime story, whatever. It just, it takes a while for a story to develop for me to really get into it. But I really did like the story on where it's going over the last couple chapters. So I've been enjoying that. I got back to Alan Wake Remastered, and Alan Wake Remastered is a third-person kind of survival horror game in a way, but it's a lot more like thriller, in my opinion, than horror. But it's been really good. I got to the end of episode 3. Now, what was interesting is episode 1 and 2, I think together I played less than I did episode 3. Episode 3 I played for, it was a pretty long episode. I thought I was halfway through the episode when we did the last podcast. Turns out I was more like 20% through. But it had some really neat parts, really neat level design, just amazing mechanics. The way they use them, or they force you to use them, is really neat. I went through several kind of boss fights areas, and they really turn up the pressure on the enemy side, but they also kind of give you the equipment you need. If you go to a chest and you pick up like 5 flashbangs, you know that you're not going to make it through the next couple fights. Or, and pretty soon you're not going to be able to make it through just shooting people. So they make it to where you have to use that stuff. And then, it kind of like, it ebbs and flows, right? You never feel like you're running out of stuff because as soon as you need it, it's almost like right there. But it does make you explore the levels and make sure you're getting everything, because it's real easy to miss like extra weapons, extra ammo, extra batteries and stuff like that. So I've really been enjoying that.
Hey, let me ask you about Alan Wake. Sorry, I want to just ask you before you move on to the next one. With Alan Wake on the remaster, I remember originally his flashlight used Energizer batteries. Are they still Energizer on the remaster, or are they something else?
I have no idea. It just says batteries. It doesn't say Energizer battery or anything.
Oh, okay. Because before they were branded, like they paid to get branded in there. Energizer was very clear.
Oh, that was.
But now they're just like batteries. Okay, cool.
I can see that because batteries are a big mechanic in the game. Mm-hmm. The way it works is kind of like you have a flashlight. You have to like shine enemies enough with the flashlight to where they can actually be damaged. And this is something you learn like right away in the game, so it's not really a spoiler. But what's interesting about it is that you have 2 things you're managing during a fight. You're managing your flashlight and you're managing your weapons, whereas like Resident Evil or something like that, you're mostly managing your weapons and your health. Well, this one you're doing like all 3, right? It makes some intense situations, but the controls are so good and he has such a good moveset to get away. Like there's a dodge that works really good, and he can run for a little bit, but not forever. It makes really tight, really intense gameplay. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, for the flashlight, it's the batteries are what they run on. So you have to get them replaced.
I don't know. His superpower in this game is that he can replace a battery like in a second.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because you just be in the middle of a fight. It's like replace battery. Boom. Okay, we're good. It's not opening. He doesn't open.
He's like John Wick in replacing the battery.
Yeah. He doesn't open the flashlight. He doesn't. You don't see the battery go in. It's just like we're good. He like touches it. That's it.
Yeah. Real pro move. Yeah. It sounds like John Wick. Yeah. Yeah. And from what I remember, I only played a little bit of the original on the Xbox, but I didn't get very far. I just checked it out.
It's a really good game. I'm really glad I went back to it. I'm really glad I went to it on my backlog. I haven't played it before, but this time I'm going through it. I've only spent 2 weeks playing it. I'm in chapter 3. It's supposed to be chapter 6. It's not supposed to be a long game. I'm only playing it when I got really time by myself, and I'm not going to be interrupted because I really enjoy the story it's feeding me to be fed in nice sequential order over a consistent period of time. The other game I've been playing since we did our podcast on Mortal Kombat, I've been continuing to go through Mortal Kombat 11 and just kind of learn where I left off. So I've finished the story. There's like 2 parts to a story. I finished it on the PC and on the PlayStation. Now, the reason why I didn't move on to the story on either one of those and went to the other machine is because 2 reasons. One, I want to have all the characters and stuff unlocked on both machines. That's just obvious. The other thing is, whenever the TV's occupied and the PlayStation 5's occupied, I go to my PC. And whenever my PC is occupied, I go to my PlayStation 5 or my Switch. So, in this situation, I've just been playing a lot of Mortal Kombat when I have like 30 minutes, 40 minutes to do something, and I can't really get into a game. And it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoy it, especially at the beginning of my game sessions, but after about an hour I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah, I like those types of games for sure. Ones that you can spend a short amount of time in, or about an hour though, and you're kind of ready to check out.
But man, Mortal Kombats are like, compared to Street Fighter and other games, Mortal Kombats are just such a complete package. I mean, their stories are great, the extra modes they have, all the unlockable things. I mean, it's just the characters, the environments. I mean, just this top notch, right? I mean, the only argument I would say, if it's I would say as far as like what the developers put in, Mortal Kombat seemed to be like the top of the list, But the only thing that's debatable is which gameplay you like better, right? So that would depend on which fighter is your favorite, but for me, just the love and care they put into the games is crazy. One Mortal Kombat, they actually had Mortal Kombat kart racing, which was pretty cool. I can't remember
which one that was. Was that 9?
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, 9 or 10.
They had like Jason and Freddy. It was really cool.
Yeah.
They had all the like horror movie characters fighting along, and it fit perfectly in the Mortal Kombat world.
Yeah, like the Mortal Kombat world is really neat how they developed it, right? Like not breaking any storytelling or anything, especially if you've been playing the last couple entries. But here's an example, right? Like in part 2, Shao Kahn was just an enemy. Shao Kahn, right? That was his name. But nowadays there's actually a planet called Outworld, and whoever is the Khan basically is controlled over all the planet, right? So they took that little bit of, they took his last name and turned it into lore. But see, they've done like everything from the beginning. They've just made it so enriched. The only problem I have with the story is there's cheesy reasons to keep around characters that obviously, like when Sonya and her daughter are both selectable characters, it's like, it's kind of time to one of them to go,
It's video games, it's like cartoons. Like they're the same age as long as you want them to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just fun in games. It's just a selectable character, right? It's another selectable character. So the other game I've been playing just a little bit, I only play it like once or maybe twice a week, as I play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I'm still enjoying that. My last playthrough, I got like 2 new powers. I thought they were both pretty cool.
What's that on?
I'm playing it on the PS5.
I thought it was a Switch game. I didn't know.
It is a Switch game.
Oh, it's on both.
Yeah, but I chose to get it on the PS5. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm at this part where I'm kind of stuck now. Like, I know where I need to go. I'm just not sure where to get there. And basically, what I've just unlocked is like being able to teleport all over the map. I know I still need double jump, but I got this really cool mechanic where like where you jump in the air and then you can fly straight, but not like up again, you know? And that unlocked like so much of the map because I think the last time I talked about it, I felt like I was getting ready for double jump because like everywhere I need to go, I need to double jump. Well, this was like a convenient way of like giving you half of that and allowing you to unlock like half the map before you get double jump. But what'll be really cool is whenever you get double jump and then you can also dash after that. That'll be pretty cool. So I've still been enjoying that. And then the other game I played was Panzer Dragoon. Played that a lot and enjoyed it. And we're going to talk about that.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
So last week I was telling you guys about my PlayStation 5 troubles with the internet and all. And so I did go into ahead and I did wipe it out and erase it and reinstall the software. And that didn't fix it. If anybody is having trouble where they're getting, certain connection errors, I ended up solving it by, strangely enough, creating a guest network on my Wi-Fi and having it join that. And then so far, so good. Anyway, if anyone's having trouble with connection errors and odd ones like that, they might try creating a guest Wi-Fi network and just see if that works. It worked out for me.
Yeah, what's so strange is it works off of any network but the original one, because it even worked off your phone.
Well, it's also, I also have Google Fiber, and apparently it's a PlayStation 5 Google Fiber problem that people are having. And there's only so many places Google Fiber exists, so it's only going to impact some of those cities maybe, or this one. Strange issue. I'm happy I found a solution. I just kind of wish I didn't have to wipe out my whole PlayStation 5 to do it. But the good news is I've got tons of room to install whatever game I want to play next, which I already have installed Resident Evil 4 Remake back on there, and I moved all my game saves on and off. That was easy enough to do. I made a backup, which wasn't too hard, but yeah, it's nice to see how simple the process was of just copying all my game saves off and then putting them all back on. They've really made that stuff easy. It's nice that backup feature like that's in the PlayStation 5. But yeah, they spent like a day messing around with that instead of playing games.
So at least you got a solution, man. That's the important part, right?
Mm-hmm. I got my PlayStation fixed and I played Panzer Dragoon on it. That was one of the first things I did, is played the remake.
Yeah, speaking of Panzer Dragoon, let's go ahead and talk about it. The first Panzer Dragoon was released on the Sega Saturn in 1995.
Yeah, I believe it was like one of the launch games.
Panzer Dragoon is a 3D rail shooter where basically you stay on a given path that the camera kind of keeps you on, and you can't vary from it except for marginally just to dodge enemies and things like that. But it keeps you going through the whole game, so it kind of tells like a consistent story, and you always go the same path. Maybe there'll be branching pathways, but not so much in this game. But yeah, that's pretty much what a rail shooter is. In this one, you ride a dragon, and there's a protagonist that finds this dragon and another dragon fighting. And the dragon that wins basically connects with the protagonist, and that's how you get in the air. And that is basically the most of the story that you'll see in the game. That's pretty much what the game is about. What were your first impressions, Brian?
Yeah, so my first impressions for Panzer Dragoon, I remember, is when I first played it on the Sega Saturn. I had rented it from the Blockbuster, and I rented that game along with it, and it was fun to play for that weekend. I played a bunch of it, and it was just amazing. I thought the graphics, it was just a really good tour de force of like where we were in 3D at the time for Sega on the Saturn. Even though it's like an early 3D game, it's actually really, it's very pretty in a lot of ways. And it even pulls off some features like the water features has like some levels of transparency that's kind of hard to pull off, in other games. For starters, like I love shoot 'em ups. So, and that's just like a very classic style, like spaceship shooter type of game for video games. And then this is like a 3D on rails shooter where like you said, you're not really changing course so much as you are as moving around and dodging things. But the tricky part is, at least on the Saturn, and if you use the classic setup on the remake, is that there's like one analog stick to this game, or it's not even an analog stick; it's a D-pad. So you have the one D-pad, and that moves the reticle to where you're aiming and where your character is. So sometimes you have to be careful on trying to shoot something and not like having your dragon in the way of something. So sometimes you have to like not shoot at something so you can fly away from something for, you dodge attacks and stuff. But it's not the longest game, but at the time with all the 3D effects and the levels, it felt, like it felt like kind of an arcade game, which is fine. But at the same time, it's a home console game, but arcade in length, I think. But at the same, and you got to remember at this time, this wasn't like this.
You beat it the first
like
time.
Sega had already experimented with this. The Sega had, I was over at my friend's house because, like I said, I rented it, and at the time I was grounded from video games, so I rented it and left it at my friend's house for the weekend. But I pretty much stayed at his house the whole weekend and played it, and then returned it.
Awesome, man. That is awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and like I enjoy this whole genre and 3D on rail shooters that later came out, even from Sega. Like one of my favorite ones is Rez, and that's just very stylized in the music. But Panzer Dragoon, it was really pretty, and the games come out with like they even immediately came out with another sequel on the system, and then like after that went on and made a big RPG, and then nothing on the Dreamcast except like Xbox game came out, which was, like I said, Panzer Dragoon Orta, and it's also a really pretty game. And then we have this remake. It's not even labeled a remake. Did you find that interesting? It just the straight up just says Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah, I found that very suiting because while it is a remake, it's not like a full blown remake, and it's very true to the Saturn. Even the colors look very true to the Saturn.
Yeah, it was fun. I playing the original Saturn and then playing the remake. How accurate they tried to get things, and then also their interpretations were very careful. It reminded me of a remake that kind of it definitely took leaps forward in like the character models and stuff, but at the same time it was very respectful to like the original artwork and the style, and it seems like they were kind of showing you that off in the credits. So as we were saying, is like this is like a remake, and it's kind of like not a full blown, it's very faithful to the original. It reminded me of like the Metroid Prime remake that came out earlier on the Switch, and how that was very faithful to the original, and it just took it a little bit further as far as like detail in like the world, but it kept very accurate to like the colors and the spirit and the characters. Looking at like the concept art that was designed, when they made the original, it seemed very faithful. They was trying to be very faithful, but not push the envelope too much. Brian, what are some impressions that you got playing this game?
My first time I got to play Panzer Dragoon was at Target. I got to play it on the Sega Saturn demo. I think there was like a demo disc they had, or maybe it was just Panzer Dragoon. I can't remember that far back. But I got to play it, and my dad went shopping for Target for like an hour, and there was no other kids around, so I got to sit there and play Panzer Dragoon like the first level over and over and over again. And I really enjoyed it. But the sad thing is I really didn't get this game for a long time, but when I did get it, I was kind of so barraged with other games and newer systems and stuff. I played a couple levels and brushed it off. I never really played it. So that was my first impression.
Yeah, I also remember playing games at Target for the Saturn. I don't quite remember too much playing Panzer Dragoon there, but I probably did. But what I remembered most was playing Knights there because they were showing off the analog stick.
Well, Knights came out a long time later, didn't it?
Knights did come out way later, but I just remember specifically, like you're talking about Target having the setup for the Saturn, and they had one. And I remember I probably played Panzer Dragoon there, but at first, I went out and rented it like as soon as possible. Like as soon as Blockbuster had it for rent, I had it. And they, the way it dropped, it was kind of ridiculous. So everyone was scrambling.
Yeah, I remember everybody scrambling to play Target as well and to get the newest games. I don't know why Target was really good at it was like if you couldn't go all the way to Toys R Us, because those were mostly located near freeways at the time, you could always go to Target and play the Saturn. I really was blown away with this game when I first played it. I thought that it was amazing graphics. I thought the gameplay was really solid. The whole locking on more than one thing, I don't know if I remember another game. I know I don't remember another game doing that I played, but I'm not very big on rail shooters. But I just thought that that was really smooth gameplay, and I love the way that you could look around different directions. Because we were just now getting 3D games. Uh, Other than the arcade was had some 3D games, but this it wasn't like a 3D fighter where you were just kind of looking at a 2D playing field, but it's all in 3D. It was more like, this is a real 3D game. You can look all around you. You have to use square and triangle to go back and forth, or whatever X and Y. But yeah, I thought it was just amazing.
Oh, also, I remember what I was going to try to say too about Panzer Dragoon is like, even though it was like an early 3D game on the Saturn, the cool thing is Sega had already dipped their toe in 3D games in the arcade, and you felt like this was an extension of their knowledge that they had built in making games in 3D in the arcade, and like trying to experiment to make like a console specific game, which in 3D, which is really, it's very. I thought it was really nice looking. Colors were really popping.
Yeah, the graphics were amazing. I mean, it was really top notch. I mean, the Saturn. Going back and looking at the Saturn now, we're talking like what, almost 30 years later, or exactly 30 years later. It does show an age, but with the 3D and the CRTs that we have back then, this thing looks so smooth. It animated so smooth. It was consistent 30 frames per second. And the character flew smooth. The dragon flew smooth. The enemies were very smooth flying. I thought it was really neat.
And I love as far as for like the gameplay, like I love the lock-on system where you can just like tag a bunch of things and just send it.
Yeah, that was really neat. That blew me away. For me, it wasn't the fact that you could lock on 1, 2, or 3 things. It was the fact you could lock on like 8 things and shoot them all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then immediately do it again.
And it really rewarded your gameplay because you would have to smoothly use the cursor to go over like all 8 of those enemies real quick and get them all. It's similar to Star Fox in that it keeps track of the number of enemies that you did kill and didn't kill. So it really, with that lock on, it really makes you want to get like every enemy.
Oh, and then the lock on's great because even though you may have tagged, just drag your cursor over them just in time, like you might not have gotten that shot off, but like if these things are flying all over the screen, so as soon as you send it, like it's going to track them and it's going to hit them, and you don't have to, there's a lot of great ways. It's like shooting the gun is great for deflecting things that are coming at you, and locking on is really great for shooting everything else.
Mm-hmm. What I did was I locked on when I wanted to deal damage. When I wanted to just get something away from me, I just shot. That's what I basically went to.
Any projectile I was just shooting, but yeah, anything I wanted to kill was locking on.
Yeah, basically if it gets close, bam, 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 bam.
Oh yeah, just spam it. And the thing is, you got to remember too, like the Saturn used just the D-pad and had the 6 face buttons, and the R and L. R and L were great for turning left and right, as the camera, but it had like some extra, like the controls have like an extra shooting button. So like when it came time to do shooting really fast, I just used used both fingers and kind of alternated back and forth, tapping them as fast as I could to just kind of like shoot as quickly as possible, which was a lot of fun. And I was even able to do it like on the PlayStation 5 that way too, just spamming both buttons back and forth to get it as quickly as, because sometimes it would throw so much stuff at you and it was just the sheer number of little things that you had to keep shooting really quickly.
Yeah, what I had trouble with was those ships that drop the tanks of, like, I guess they're tanks of gas or something, because they explode when you kill them and when they hit you. Those were the ones that gave me trouble. But what was your favorite level, Brian?
Third level, I think. It's the one before I like the level before you go into like those caves. The cave level, I wasn't as thrilled. The one right before it, I enjoyed. But all in all, like there's only so many levels, and I really enjoyed them all except so much that cave level. That was fine, except it just felt like that boss fight was just so long that it was like I was starting to question if my hits did any damage, because he just seemed like you had to hit him so many times before he'd start chipping away at his health, and it just became,
the bosses were sponges like crazy.
I know I played it on easy when I got to that boss, but like yeah, it's just like it was a long fight. It was just like not only did you learn the patterns of how to dodge things and what to shoot and when not to shoot and where to shoot, but like repeating it over and over, you're kind of exhausted at certain times dodging certain things. You start getting tired and making a mistake, and like you're just whittling his health off. So like there was a time where the first one I went after him, like I was losing a little bit of health in our encounter at a certain rate, but like any hit he hit me would chunk off pretty good. But like the amount I was chipping away at him, it was like, okay, even when I get him down to like 3/4 health, I would already be dead. So like I need to like get this cleaned up a little bit, but I just kind of went into the boss fight with not a lot of health to start with. And there's not a lot of, if you lose health in this game, you don't really get it back until you clear the level, and then you start off a new level with full health. So there's, at least if there are, health, I didn't find it. And I was actually got pretty good later on at aiming.
I didn't find any way to heal. It almost was like, like I'd have a rough run sometimes, and I'd get to a boss and I'd have like 30% health, and I'm like, I just might as well die, reset, or something, it's not even worth it.
Hey, so let me ask you, so I first played some of this. Well, first I played the PlayStation 4 version. I got to about level 4, and then I was trying to back out of it, but there was no real way to save. At least it wasn't giving me an option to save or whatever. And then then I played the Saturn version, and then when I went back to play the PlayStation 4 version, I was thinking, and I was looking in the options because I was just seeing what kind of settings I could do. I noticed that the controls was classic and modern. So I was like, oh, let me just switch it over to modern. And I went on to modern, and I just immediately switched it back to classic.
Well, I didn't know that. What is modern controls like?
Modern uses dual analogs for starters, but I couldn't find the gun button, the shooting buttons to be easy for me or whatever. And it was just throwing me off. Did
you try the trigger button?
Well, I tried buttons either way. It was just throwing me off. So I went back to classic and played the whole thing through classic controls.
That's something I need to learn from you, Brian, is like when I go to play a game, instead of being in a hurry to play, I really should go into the options and explore stuff, because you seem to be consistently on the show, always bringing up things that I'm missing in the options. Like last week, it was you could listen to all the Castlevania music in the options screen. This week, there was a whole new control scheme that I didn't even know about.
Well, yeah, part of the reason sometimes I go in is sometimes their difficulty. They either, like, especially when it comes to shooters, there's questions of how many continues do you get, how many lives do you get, things like that, or how, difficulty or whatever. But yeah, I'm always looking in to see like if I need extra continue, if they offer like more, if I can choose the number of continues or lives, or whatever. I just like to dig into the options real quick before I pull the trigger on the game.
It's a good move. I agree with it. My favorite level on Panzer Dragoon was the level where you go down. It's basically like you're always going down a hallway, but it's like you're going down into the earth,
Yeah, that's the one I didn't like. It was fine. That boss fight just ruined it for me. It's so slow.
I love that boss fight. That's why I like that level. That boss fight was just great. I mean, it was like really challenging, really rewarding. You had to learn. It was like a good boss. You had to learn its mechanics before you could really beat it, and it was real fun. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed that level because every other level, it seems like you are so open, which is great. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But in that level, it was like real restrictive. And so it gave you a different feeling, compared to the other ones.
Yeah, real confined space. And at first, like this game kind of takes you in and out of points and periods where you have to like think about where the actual character is on the screen and stuff, and like maneuvering them around, because most of the time you're pretty much free to just shoot whatever you can and wherever, your dragon will get you wherever because you're on rails. But and then on that level, it's specifically like doors don't quite open, and they're like, oh, I really need to like duck and fly around, which was nice. That it threw me. It was like, oh yeah, I need to like, stop worrying about shooting every little thing that shows up and more about flying around a little bit. Yeah,
and on that level, they kind of get you because like the first like 2 or 3 doors open all the way, and then the like the fourth or fifth one, it's like open, but you're thinking it's going to open more, and it doesn't, and you like get hit.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. I thought that was really good level design, by the way. really making the player slowly think more, because that was a different design space and it was more thinking in that level than it was reaction to me, anyways. One of the things I loved about the game is the bosses. I think the bosses are just phenomenal. I like I said earlier, they are a little bit of bullet sponges, but I love how you have to be patient with them. You're not going to just sit there like fire all day. You need to be moving. You need to be dodging. There's a way to kill them. It's not just like hit them everywhere. I thought the bosses were really cool. I really honestly have never given Panzer Dragoon 2 a shot, so I really need to give that a shot and kind of see what those boss fights are. But these boss fights were amazing.
Oh yeah, that game is a lot of fun as well. I think I remember playing the second one for sure. That was like, when I went actually around to picking up like Saturn games in the mid 2000s or whatever. That was one of the ones I grabbed. I have the first two. I don't have Saga, but not many people do.
No, they don't. Yeah, but I plan on playing that pretty soon to go back to that Panzer Dragoon Saga. I love it.
Yeah, I think this Saturday I might play that on the Saturn. Might check it out.
Make sure you read everything when they go over the dragon combat. Read it, and if you know what, to be honest, read it again, because that's basically the combat for the whole game. It's not hard. It's just they teach you like it. Okay, so you know how in Panzer Dragoon, when you move to the way you look, you move from one direction to another direction. Well, in Saga, what you're doing is you're not really doing that so much. What you're doing is you're moving where you are around the enemy. So, for example, like instead of looking left, if you hit left, you will go to where the enemy's on your right side. Or if you hit right, you'll go where the enemy's on your left side. And then you can go front, which the enemy will be on your back side. And, different enemies have different weaknesses, and you need to attack. It's just like Panzer Dragoon. You need to attack enemies in certain orders and stuff like that. And, sometimes you have to go defensive because, you can't heal in that game. You need to heal. But, yeah, very awesome game. Loved it. But, yeah, back to Panzer Dragoon. The replayability on this game is just amazing, right? Because it's a rail shooter. And I was really surprised to find out it only had 7 chapters. But, 7 chapters were really good.
Yeah, I skipped most of the cutscenes. Like, the story is interesting, not that interesting. Whatever. I'm more of like, I want to play it. And, I'll bear a loading screen, but I just want to jump into the game.
There's literally, like, hardly any story in the game. I don't even know why they spent all that time on the opening sequence where you got the dragon.
Hey, that was there on the Saturn. Like, yeah.
I know. It's just like, to be honest with you, I was like, this game's going to be pretty deep.
I hate to tell you, in the second one, they go even slower. Like, you're getting on the dragon, but the dragon doesn't get off the ground. So you're running around on the dragon at first. And then later in that level, you'll start flying.
All right. Yeah, I thought the story, it was all right. I
don't think I could tell you what it was.
I'd give it like a 4 out of 10, to be honest. It's not even all right, but it's interesting. I really enjoyed that you're kind of always fighting that same guy that you start off fighting at the beginning. That was really interesting to me, because on the last boss.
Oh, yeah, how it turned out at the end, it was him.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay. Yeah, but anyway. Is like as much as I was skipping out on the story and not paying attention to it, I was kind of creating my own story. But I was like, in a world where they're living like this, is like, why can't they just be friends? Like, and he's a super dragon or prototype dragon or whatever. It's like, well, so what? This is cool. Why? Let's just be friends or whatever.
There's 2 other things I want to bring up about this game, and to me they're important. The first one is the mini map. Is just amazing in this game. Because you have to look left, right.
Oh, the radar? Definitely in the map, yeah.
Front or back to see enemies. And the radar, without that radar, I would have been it would have been impossible to see the enemies behind you or the ones that are coming up to your side. So that's awesome. And the other thing I really like about this game is it's made for everybody, right? A little kid could play this game. Or grandma could play this game.
Yeah, we beat it on easy, no problem. Anybody else can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is it's age appropriate, it's not dirty, it doesn't have bad language.
Oh, this is definitely an E for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's on rails, so even if you only make it 2 levels, you can still have a blast in this game. You know.
And like you said, it's made for replayability. The length isn't too long either, so it's like definitely made for replayability. Trying to get either higher scores, better accuracy, or unlock more things. It is fun like that.
Yeah, and on a playthrough, you get a ton of trophies, which is pretty good. So that's fun if you're a trophy hunter. I'm not much of one, but every time I get one, I kind of look at them. You know.
Also, while we're recording this podcast, the game, at least on the PlayStation, is on a huge sale. It's like less than $3. And so for that price, I'd say anyone that has a PlayStation 5 or 4 should consider checking that out because that's super cheap.
That's a good point. It is $2.14 right now, so you might as well jump on it. That's American. But yeah, at least give it a shot.
I think it goes to the end of the month. So, yeah. Hopefully you're listening to this podcast then. And if you're listening to it in June, well, you might have missed it.
Yeah. So kind of why don't we go ahead and go into final thoughts, Brian? What are your final thoughts on Panzer Dragoon?
Well, I thought it kind of busted out the gate when it first came out on the Saturn as like a showcase for what the system could do. And it was quick to like gen up the sequel, which was just like was everything and then a little bit more, like the texturing work is better, the character work it was better, everything, the levels, there's a little bit, it's just got a little more meat on the bone. And then they went from that to like a huge RPG, which was a little too late for the system, but it came out and it was, and it's a beloved RPG, but it was a definitely shift. And then the last one was like Panzer Dragoon Orta that came out on the Xbox, and it was kind of back to the traditional, on-rails shooter. I'm so glad they made this remake that other people can play it. I think it's smart to bring out this game, and the way they did, I remember it first came out on the Switch, and then later came out on the PlayStation 4. And that's kind of the way I picked it up. First, I got on the Switch, and then later when they announced the PS4 version, I went and got that one. And then it got like PS4 Pro enhanced. So it's a, like you said, it's a really fun game. It's accessible to all ages and all types of, capabilities in playing. And it's one of those games that, like, even though I spent the time playing on easy, and I feel like I'm even more prepared to go back and play it in normal, because I kind of, in some games, they can really throw you some curves on like learning like people's like timing and mechanics, to where like when you go to change difficulties, they like, okay, now we're going to mix up all these mechanics. Don't think that's what's going to happen, but I definitely see a game. This is, like you said, it's so short. I could hop in again and play it, a few times in like a year. Definitely going to play it more than once, and I'm going to try to get better at it. And I was liking to, and it was more encouraging to see like my accuracy improve as I was going through each level. That if I went back and played it on normal, I think I could get pretty far, if not maybe beat it with enough time.
Yeah, I actually played it on easy myself. After I was having trouble on getting past like stage 5 on normal, and once I went through easy, not only did I understand what the later stages were about, but I actually improved on going through the first 5 stages, because you understand kind of like, oh, this is what this boss does. This is what this enemy does. This is where this part is. I need to watch out for these on this level. So, yeah, I definitely felt that same way, as that, most time I don't even touch easy on a game, but this one, it actually helps you kind of learn the game,
I have no shame in using easy on like spaceship shooters, shoot 'em ups, classic games like that. I'll be happy. And usually, like you said, when I'm playing easy, I'm learning mechanics of the game and learning patterns and stuff like that. So when I go into normal and that stuff's there, I'm just kind of like better prepared for it. And, giving me all that mercy on easy the first time through to learn it is just, it's fun. It's still fun.
Yeah, play your way. If you're having fun, play your way. My final thoughts on Panzer Dragoon is that it's a game that doesn't get much talk about nowadays. At least I don't hear people on game podcasts, so whatever you have. But it's a game that really holds up. The Saturn version is still looks beautiful to me today. I know it's pixelated and stuff now, but it still looks beautiful, still holds up. Gameplay solid, gameplay's tight. I have it on the Switch. The Switch looks prettier and it runs better, but boy, the PlayStation 5 version just really runs better.
So smooth, isn't it? Yeah.
So smooth. And it's just so nice to see the frame rate updates, the graphic updates to that game. It just really makes it a lot more replayability. When I was playing the Saturn version, my kids were like, "What are you playing, Dad?" Whenever they wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, it's the first gen 3D game, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't believe me that the remake on the PS5 was the same game.
Oh, wow. Really? I thought they kind of nailed some things, but sure enough.
It does look just like it, but it's just so smooth and so updated. They just didn't understand the whole remaster thing.
Yeah, after I played through it on the PS5, I popped in the Switch version just to kind of refresh myself a little bit of what the differences are. And while they both, I would say if you only have one of those two systems, play the game regardless. But if you like playing it on your PlayStation, like I said, it's really cheap and the smooth frame rate was just noticeable. And then also like it felt like it was in 4K or whatever resolution. It was a lot higher and things were just sharper and popping more. And this isn't like a Last of Us type of game where that level of realism, but it's a nice upgrade from definitely, like you said, the Saturn.
My other final thoughts on this game is that I think the gameplay is really solid. The gameplay is really tight. The bosses are great and all that. I think I said that before, but I really like how it's so accessible, right? This is the game that, like, as a kid at Target, I was able to play and really understand real fast. It just, no instruction booklet, no one's showing me anything. It just basically taught it to yourself.
And the first level is not like a tutorial, really. They just kind of throw you in. Yeah, the first level is not really like a tutorial. They just kind of throw you in. Like, they throw you in the shallow end, but they throw you in.
I really like how the first level of this game and the first level of Star Fox 64 are like really teach you the game and just let you go through and they pretty much make you feel like a badass, on the first level. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get almost every enemy in this entire game. And then the second level, you're like, what happened? All right, Brian, what are you going to be up to this next week?
Like, I really enjoyed what I was playing with Panzer Dragoon Orta, so I'm going to keep playing that. I don't know if I'm going to reach 5 hours, but I'm already about 52 minutes or about an hour in. So I'm gonna play some more of that. And now that my PlayStation 5 is working online, all the features, I'm gonna jump back in on Resident Evil 4 Remake this week. Hopefully, I plan on doing some more writing on my website. I've got some ideas of some art, stories I want to write about some movies that I've been watching recently, and not just video games. But there's some movies I've been watching, and I think right now I have enough to talk about or write about. So I plan on posting some articles about some movies this week as well, somewhere in there. But yeah, I had a lot of fun on my Xbox. It's just the way my setup is, I'm kind of having to swap HDMI ports. Today when I was playing, my cat nearly, I made a mistake. I had wires running all around the living room. And the cat likes to play fetch, and without me thinking, oh yeah, as soon as I throw this cat is going to dart across this room, and cat doesn't understand wires and knocking things over, So I sent my laptop flying off my table, and thankfully nothing broke on it except the HDMI cable from the extra long HDMI cable from the TV. So I'm going to have to order another one of those, but I was able to plug in and continue the stream that I was playing, and thankfully it didn't break my computer, because that was all my mistake. I should have just not thrown the toy. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't have anything against cats, but for some reason, like at my job, people are always posting like, my cat just flipped over my Mac or something, or my cat just ran across this.
Oh no, cats and computers dangerous. Like, I've had, like, my sister's cat one time. I was just cat sitting, like, my sister's cat stayed with me for like a month while she was out of town on like vacation, an extended vacation, and he walked across my keyboard one time and changed this weird, like, it basically changed the behavior in my web browser for my downloads. So anytime I downloaded something, what happened on the computer at the time, and this is so old that I never fixed it. I couldn't fix it. I just had to wait till the interface changed over time to where that wasn't a thing. And back then, what happened is when I downloaded something on my web browser, it popped up on the top where it showed, and you could go over there and click on it. It came up in like a pop-up window where you could see it, and it would go away. But the problem was after the cat walked on the keyboard, every time the download window popped up, it would immediately go away. As quick as your cursor could be anticipating it, it would just, you could never catch it. It would always go away, and I couldn't fix it until that's just not the way the browser worked. So cats and computers, especially my experience, I try to keep them away from it as much as possible. But like I said, I had cables running across the ground and they tripped over them. That was nuts.
Yeah, cats and computers don't mix.
And it's caught on stream. I'm going to make a clip and share it this week, so you get to see the fear in my face as you hear this computer fly across the room.
Okay, yeah. Keep your cats away from computers. That's the lesson there. What I'll be doing this week is I'll be getting ready for the trip mostly. You know, I still got to go to the store, buy all the little things that make it through, the security and all that. Get everything planned out.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So that's what I'm going to be doing pretty much next week. The thing is that as far as games go, I'm probably going to have not that much time because I'm going to have to edit the podcast and get it out. But the good thing is that the games that I do want to play are not too demanding of my time right now. So I can make some progress. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just going to keep it real. There's a lot of stuff are up in the air next week. So I got to take care of a lot of business before I get out, but it's going to be good. Brian, where can people find you?
And you'll have your Switch and your Mio Mini with you on your trip to play those.
Yeah, I can have my Mio Mini and my Switch, and I'm going to have that on my trip. I got those all loaded up, and I've been buying Switch games that are on sale like so much just because like I'm afraid to go somewhere and not have like a library of games to play, you know.
No, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's like
even though I'm going to like a beach and I'm going to like where it's paradise, it's like the gamer inside of me is like, oh my God, what if I just don't feel like playing Valkyrie Chronicles on the plane? What am I going to do if I don't have a game selection to browse?
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you. I'm similar to that. Like if I'll plan out way more games to bring with me or whatever to have accessible than I have anywhere near time. But when I do get that moment, I'm like, yes, I feel prepared. My Boy Scout traits are kicking in that I'm prepared. With sales like we've been talking about of some things, it's like it's so easy to just pick up a game for less than $3.
I know, man. Like I'm a sucker for $4.99 and down. If it's a game that even if I bought it like 4 times over the course of my life, I might buy it again. You know.
Yeah, and I don't do this often. It's just sometimes this happens. Is so like I have that game physically that I got from Limited Run. And I was one of those guys that when it first came out on the Switch, I bought it from Limited Run physically. And I didn't, because I just didn't think it was going to come out on the PlayStation or whatever. And then like a year later it did. So then I bought it again from Limited Run on the PlayStation 4. And it's still in its shrink wrap and haven't opened it up yet. But when it was like $3 digital or whatever, it's like, all right, I'll keep it sealed. No problem. Just keep it on the shelf. Generally, I like to open them up and play them. But when the digital version like that is just so cheap, it's like, yeah, why not? And then I don't have to work. That's one game I don't have to think about taking off the shelf or whatever. As much as I love physical games and I like to get them where I can, a good sale on a video game digitally is fine. It's happy. I'm good with that.
Where I struggle is like I know I should be buying like some $50 or $60 game and like supporting, but the problem is that like because of my lifestyle and everything, I've fallen so far behind. It's with the kids and everything. It's like there's so many games that are cheap on sale that you can get instead. So Brian, where can people find you?
Yeah, Brian. Again, people can find me at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. as well as my website, nostalgicpixel.com, and you'll catch me streaming on Twitch at Nostalgic Pixel TV. Brian, where can people reach you online?
You can find me at TryWinBrian on X. We want to thank you for listening to the show, and if you liked it, please give us a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice, and you can follow us on Patreon at The Legendary Backlog. It's free, and it gives you access to all our sites. We're trying to build a community of people who love games. See you next time.
It's a lot of fun.